Unspoken Issues.
All right, let's get into our last two here. Part 4, Morbius, the Living Vampire, number 12. On sale June 15th, 1993. Our writer and colorist here is Gregory Wright, friend of the show. Penciled by Ron Wagner. Inked by Mike Witherby and lettered by Janice Chang. I did a little bit of breakdown on Ron Wagner's career. Here we go. Marvel, he's got 75 credits under his belt just for Marvel alone, usually. It looks like a lot of his work was in the late 80s to mid-1990s. Major contributor to G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, Punisher War Journal, and Morbius. And then over in DC, he's got 58 credits to his name, according to Mike's Amazing World. He was doing most work in the 90s and early 2000s. He's got credits on Superman, Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, and Azrael. It sounds like if you were reading some Bat books during the 90s, he was there. Also has, now these next few credits, he's got CrossGen. He's got 8 credits over there in the early 2000s. IDW, he's got 5 with, and they were in the mid-2010s when he goes back to the G.I. Joe franchise. First Comics, he's got 3 in the mid-1980s with a book named Badger. He's got a couple credits for Dark Horse and 1 for Eclipse. So there you go. There's a breakdown of Ron Wagner.
He's also got a Ghost Rider sketch in my sketchbook from when I met him at Wizard World like 15 years ago.
Oh, really? That's awesome. Okay, well, Morbius the Living Vampire, number 12. At daybreak, Michael Morbius staggers home aflame and half mad, his mind still tainted by lilin blood, then slips back into his Dr. Morgan Michaels routine by night. Ghost Rider and Frank Drake, racing to stop Blade's Darkhold twisted alter ego Switchblade, warn that only a counterspell can save what's left of their friend. At St. Jude's, Jack Russell, other people may know him as Werewolf by Night, turns up the mall to pull Morbius back from the edge.
You were thinking of his mullet.
Their rooftop argument is cut short when Switchblade arrives in a roar of hellfire. The slaughter is merciless. A pumpkin bomb rammed into Jack's jaws detonates. Morbius is blasted, pinned, and left for dead. He crawls into the sewers, the demon voice finally overrunning his human conscience. When he rises, the hunger owns him, and he feeds. Consumed by fury, Morbius ambushes Switchblade on the road to Doctor Strange's sanctum, scoring blood before Blade answers with God-eating might. A red soul-scouring burst reduces Morbius to a charred skeleton and casts his consciousness toward a netherworld lure. Martine's beckoning promise of eternal rest that curdles into a trap he refuses. The Midnight Suns register another loss but press on, buying time as the Sanctum's wards hold. Switchblade, unrepentant and burning brighter, vows that nothing will stop his holy purge of the supernatural. Least of all, the friends he's already consigned to ash. Let's head back to Morbius. Chris, I'll let you go first here. You got your notes for Morbius, the Living Vampire.
I think it's cool that Werewolf by Night is finally getting into these Midnight Suns universe. I don't know if he was in any of these books previously. It is kind of disappointing that he looks like a giant hulking werewolf, whereas I actually looked it up and there are other examples of him looking like this. I prefer the original Werewolf by Night design, which is a little more like the Wolfman from the old Universal movies.
Jesse's not a fan of those green pants, though, I'll tell you that.
This is truth.
Have you guys seen the Werewolf by Night Disney Plus?
Yeah.
Jesse, have you seen that?
I have not seen it. I've heard it's good, though. This came out a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, it's really cool. But like that, and it was really like the werewolf design in the movie was pretty faithful to what he looked like originally back in the 70s. He gets it pretty bad in this. He's got to swallow a pumpkin bomb that blows him up.
Yeah.
I like Ron Wagner's art. We did the first issue of Morbius, and I'm assuming he was on this book for the majority of the title. I don't think he finished on it. I think he He might have even gone and done some Ghost Rider issues eventually. But I am curious if, because Morbius is a science vampire. He's not supernatural.
Right.
But I'm assuming the reasoning that Blade is going after him is because he's been tainted by one of Lilith's demon children. In the first issue of Morbius had basically poisoned him. If I remember right, there was some kind of experiment that Morbius was going through to try and cure his vampirism, and one of the lilin-tainted the blood or the formula that was going to be injected into him with the lilin blood. And you see in the book the inner struggle of him arguing with himself with the lilin possession going on there, which is kind of a cool back and forth. And then we see, even after Morbius is dead, Switchblade has got to go at him again with the more supernatural version when it's just the lilin kind of taking him over. But that's pretty much all I got. I liked this issue quite a bit. It's not as dynamic as the previous issue with the big giant battle between Modred and Switchblade, but it gets us to the big finale.
I mean, we still got a pretty crazy battle that happens in this. And again, the body count continues. I mean, we watch, just like you said, we see Jack Russell get killed, Werewolf by Night get killed in a very crazy way, by the way. I mean, Switchblade's got him straddled and then is opening up his mouth and shoving the pumpkin bomb down into his throat, and then he just explodes a la, oh my goodness, Monster Squad. He just gets blown up. And then Morbius, trying to take him on as well. There's some crazy stuff that happens. I'm going to go ahead and go with my notes here, Evan, then I'll turn it over to you here in a second. Sure. Can we just talk about Mandy for a second?
I was wondering when we were going to.
I mean, my goodness, I've never seen so many HR violations happen in the comic book.
It was the 90s.
It was the 90s.
Hey, she came and she gave without taking. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. So she's definitely got. I'm sure there's some kind of a story going on here that I'm not aware of, but she is either got the hots for Morbius or she's working some kind of an angle. Then, as she shows up, they go through this thing, and she's like, "There's a guy by the name of Jack Russell that wants to talk to you." They walk out, and Morbius casually hears a conversation between two guys sitting at a desk, which I'm sure represent somebody. There's a very good possibility that these are some creators here that might even be working on the book. I don't know. Maybe these guys have been in this book for a while and, it's Joe and Schmo. I have no idea, because they only have 2 lines of dialogue. One guy says, "Gave us AIDS because the planet's ticked about the ozone." And the other one goes, "Ha, the planet gave us AIDS." I don't know. This has got to be a reference to something. And I almost want to ask Gregory Wright, what the hell is going on here? Please explain.
Gregory Wright had hair similar to that second.
Yeah. There was some depictions of him in the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, Update 89. And I have... You guys remember the Essentials, the black and white, but they're let's try it again. They're essentially all of the issues in one big trade, but they're in black and white, paper pages.
Yeah.
So anyway, he depicts himself in a lot of the editing or table of contents. And yes, I remember he had some long hair. Anyway, interesting stuff there. We already talked about Jack Russell, the pumpkin bomb. I think, this battle between Morbius and Switchblade, Morbius doesn't have it. Then he gets pinned to the wall, and the Lilin demon comes out and goes for the throat, which I thought was really cool. I didn't understand what happened, but when he takes his fingers and he's going for his throat, and he obviously impales or cuts Blade's throat, there's this massive explosion, and the next panel is Blade holding his throat while all this power surges out of him. It's pretty crazy. The death scene is a 2-page spread of him just laying into Morbius with everything he's got. I'm sure the Hellfire shotgun's getting shot. He's got stuff coming out of his eyes that's hitting him. And then he hits the ground and he's nothing but a skeleton. And then you see the Martine stuff, where she's, kind of showing up. And this is kind of, I remember this being a thing of the few Morbius things that I've read. Like, he was, his love Martine, and then he soon realizes that that's not, I think he realizes that, or at least he thinks he's damned or something like that, because he's screaming at the end of this. You think he's dead. He's dead and he's seeing the afterlife. So again, this is a major character. Let's just go ahead and I want to say what was going through my mind when I was reading this issue. And that was, boy, I hope they don't undo this at the end of the next issue. Now, granted, this was a lot of bodies happening at the same time within a span of 5 issues, one single issue for a lot of these titles. And I was thinking to myself, don't do that, because it's going to undercut the weight of everything that's happened. And, I've already given
Let me introduce you to American comic books.
Yeah, I know. It's the early 90s. The death of Superman has actually just happened, if I remember correctly. It happens in 92, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's the one example everybody points to, is like Superman destroyed death in comic books. That's not the case. We're talking about the supernatural here. It's not uncommon for these characters to flirt with the other side, possibly die, come back, whatever. Regardless, these events have just steadily grown crazier and crazier, and Switchblade is unstoppable. Now he's taken out Morbius, and the only people on his tail are a guy with a cool gun. Then you've got Ghost Rider, which is probably going to be the one that could possibly put up the fight. And then Louise Hastings, who ate pancakes that morning. And I'm sure Buchanan, he's got a trusty rusty pistol. I don't know who's going to stop Blade. If he can take out Morbius.
Doctor Strange, if he was home.
You're certainly Doctor Strange. He is going to tear this dude apart. So that's my notes on Morbius. It's your turn, Evan.
Do you think Martine is the reason he sent Mandy away?
Possibility.
I was excited to see Jack Russell, and then realized that he had gotten his hair blown out or something. He's like, hey, Morbius, you can totally control your transformations. Like, I don't even wear pants anymore. That's how crazy it's got. Switchblade takes them down pretty quick. I did not know exactly what was going on with Morbius, but I knew there was a problem with the Lilin blood, but it was like, oh, wow, he took Morbius down pretty fast. And then Morbius is like, nah, I still got some vampire in me. And then Blade just kills him again. In the next issue blurb, it says, with all the Midnight Suns dead, I'm like, wait a minute, what? Not yet. We'll either be printing multiple copies with the respective funerals, or Morbius will be granted his fondest desire by using a page of the Darkhold. So they just leaned right into it. Like, hey, most of the stars of this line are dead now. But yeah, I'm with you. As soon as I saw the first 2 deaths, I'm like, well, this is getting magically reset.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I know Johnny Blaze is around still. Now if people have been like, oh, guys, did we forget to bring back Hannibal King? Yeah.
There needed to be a Star Trek 3 of this series, like where they brought back, there was another journey to try and bring these people back. It just felt, now granted, in the next issue, we'll talk about it here in a second, but it's not without its cost, although we won't have any idea what that is at the end of the story. Evan, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, you're good. Honestly, that was most of my notes for this issue. Oh man, he killed Werewolf by Night real good, and wow, Andy. What is going on there? You think that's why Morbius vampired out? It's like, I can't work under these conditions. You need to appreciate me for my mind, not for my rock hard glutes.
Smack.
The only thing, this one's another example of, there's a lot I liked about this, but all the issues ended really abruptly. It's just like, okay, there's a lot of stuff going up. Nope, next issue. So pretty much nonstop action. And I am impressed in each of them, even though it seems like it's going along at a breakneck pace, that there's always time for the little subplots and nods to what's going on, like with Martine and the Lilin blood and things like that. It feels like, even though this is part of that bigger crossover, it's very much not hijacking the story that was going on if you were reading these regularly, but building off of it or interacting with it.
Yeah. Yeah, let's pick a panel here. Morbius, the living vampire. No broken windows, ladies and gentlemen. None.
First.
Now we're going to struggle.
So the glass is half empty in this one. Is what you're saying?
Chris, you got the.
Sorry, I don't mean to be a pain.
Come on. We have been subject to tortures tonight.
Page 13, panel 6. It's Werewolf by Night getting fed a pumpkin bomb.
It's a good one, man. That's the one I would have landed on right there. He explodes, man. He's done. He is done. All right, I got the second one, and I am going to go with the 2-page spread where Morbius meets pretty much at the hands, the eyes, the shotgun. There's so much firepower being brought onto Morbius here. You have no idea what Switchblade is using. A nasty, crazy, but a beautiful 2-page spread. All right, Evan.
Well, let's see. I'm trying to figure out which one I actually picked. Okay. I believe it's page 15, where panel 3, where Morbius has been left for dead, and then something wakes up, but it ain't Michael. It is whatever was possessing him, and the red in his eyes. That's a pretty striking panel there.
Yeah, at last the human is no more. He takes on some, I don't know if they're new powers or if it's just he leans into those powers, or whatever this thing is leans into those powers. It becomes almost like a wraith and just immediately kills a homeless guy, and then it's time to take on Blade. But yeah, that's good. That's a good panel. Good panel.